What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream today. We're going to settle an argument that's been going amongst the Arsenal fan base for a little while. It's a quiet week at the moment, so something for us to talk about. Unai Emery versus Mikel Arteta. Who was the better manager? Who achieved more? Who has the better squad? And just generally, who improved this side more? Big up everyone. Over 100 of you here waiting by the time I even kicked off. I appreciate that. Make sure everyone smashes the like button. I've been getting great like targets. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Big up everyone in the chat. Hope you're safe and well. 2011 kit. Listen, people, you know what? I used to love this kit. And then United smashed us 8-2 in this kit. And I didn't really wear it too often, but I always liked it. You know, Nike, the Nike days, man. Nike days were proper, you know, and the badge and that. Yeah, man, they were good times. Well, the shirt was good times. I don't know if the team was good times. RVP, man, you remember the volley away from home at Anfield. We're not talking about the 8-2 jersey, man. Man United ruined this kit, man. Ashley Young and them, man. But we're still going to rep it anyway. It's still Arsenal. Hope everyone is well. We've got a few things to break down today. Hit the likes, people. Make sure you smash a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're on our way to 23K and beyond. Still amazing numbers considering, you know, only 18 months nearly in the channel. The support has been fantastic and much appreciated. Listen, let's get into it. Everyone probably knows what they think I'm going to say, but I'm definitely going to give Mikel Arteta v Emery a fair, you know, fight in this debate. It isn't just going to be one-sided, but it's going to be factual and slightly opinionated. And I want all of you guys to get your comments in on this as well today. JSD, what about Arsene Wenger, 1000th game? Yeah, Wenger. JSD says, big up Big C on lunch at work, sub and like people. Yeah, big up, man. Appreciate that. Yo, Big Curtis, what's happening, Mustafa? Hope you're well. Hope you're well. We're just happy to be here right now. Peter Mounsey, thank you very much for the super chat, bro. Said Unai Energy did more of a worse squad. Imagine what he'd do now. Big up Curtis, keeping us going as usual. Hope you're well. I'm good, bro. Thank you very much for your super chat. Spec 888, Arteta's going to win because of an FA Cup. Oh, yeah, that's a fair point. He won a trophy. Gun Decagun said, let's see how objective this argument is going to be. I'm going to try my very best, people. I'm going to try my very best. I've just been watching Frank Bruno against Mike Tyson documentary. Go and check that out on Sky Documentaries if you like your boxing, man. So I'm all hyped up. I'm feeling, you know, like the champ coming into this. Right, let's get into it, people. Let's get into it. Right, let's start off. Let's start off with the team, right? We'll start off with the team. And I want your opinions in the comments, right? I want your opinions, people. This is the team that Arsenal had for the Europa League final. So bear in mind when I do this, there is no Aaron Ramsey. He was out injured. And there is no Henrik Mkhitaryan, who was obviously, he had those problems with traveling to Baku, you know, because of the country and stuff like that. This was the squad that we had. And Hector Bellerin. Sorry, they're the three players. So we had no Bellerin, no Ramsey, and no Mkhitaryan. So we're going to have to add them into this squad as well when we're looking at it. So our two goalkeepers, we start off with the goalkeepers. We've got Leno and we've got Peter Cech, right? We've got Leno and Peter Cech as the two goalkeepers, right? So decent goalkeepers. I mean, when I look at this team, I'm not going to lie. I have to like start squinting my eyes because this team just looks horrible to me. It looks like a horrible team to me. So two goalkeepers are Leno and Cech, right? You've got Agent Cech in goal, who actually had a good game in this game. But listen, we bought an old man past his best. Chelsea weren't selling us, you know, no prime Peter Cech. We got Agent Cech, the old man who couldn't get to bottom corners and stuff. You know what I mean? But when you look at this team, people, what's the first thing you think? Just be honest. What do you think when you look at that team? I see a poor team. I look at the bench. The bench absolutely stinks. You know what I mean? That bench is stinking out Baku. No wonder we came back from there with an L. But listen, we're going to keep it objective, right? We look at the right backs. Right? Well, obviously, we've got Hector Bellerin, who was out injured. He was out for most of this season. So we had Bellerin on paper. We had Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who played right back for most of this season. James said, my eyes are bleeding. I feel your pain, bro. This team is trash, disappointing team. It's not a great team. So our three right backs available are Maitland-Niles, Lichtsteiner, who's actually retired from football now, and Jenkinson, who to this day I still don't understand how he became a Premier League footballer. I know he must have won a competition or something. So there's the three right backs. I think we can safely say the right backs are shocking. Like, they are actually shocking. Do you know what I mean? Ainsley, who wanted to play centre mid, Lichtsteiner, who's an old man, and Jenkinson, who I'm pretty sure, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I think he got a golden ticket out of a chocolate bar, and the prize was to play for Arsenal. I mean, everyone used to gas him because he was an Arsenal fan and he had Arsenal wallpaper as a kid, but come on. He'd struggled to get into AFTVFC's team. I'm telling you, I don't know if Scully would pick him. But hey, there we go. This is a painful team to look at. And it doesn't surprise me that we left Baku with the L, You look at the centre-backs. Socrates, Koscielny. We played Monreal centre-back in this three at the back. And we had Mustafi on the bench. And that's about your lot. In terms of centre-backs. And obviously, we had Callum Chambers as well and Rob Holding. I believe Holding was injured as well, sorry. Man said Arteta would get relegated with that. Oh, man, it's a mad team. It is. This is a poor team right there. It's really bad. It's really bad. Centre-back, Koscielny at the end of his career. Nacho was fairly consistent. Yeah, I have to admit, I didn't like him at the start when we first signed him. He became quite reliable towards the end, I've got to admit. He did get a little bit better, but still, You look at the left-backs, Nacho, who was playing centre-back in this formation, and Kolasinac. That was our two left-backs. Nacho Monreal at the back end of his career. And Kolasinac was probably better then than he is now. I think he's worse now than he was then, but he still wasn't good enough. And you know what? I was so angry with him in this final because there was a point where he gets the ball on the left wing. He could have just whipped it into Aubameyang. He has a touch and then gets the cross blocked. It could have been 1-0. You never know. We could be having a different conversation. I have to admit, Nacho Monreal definitely grew on me as a player. He became sort of a Mr. Reliable. You got like a 6, 7 out of 10 every week. Not as good as Kieran Tierney, in my opinion, but he was steady. He was one of the better left backs post Ashley Cole that we've had. We've had some shocking left backs, Andre Santos and people like that. So there's your defensive options. Not great to be honest. Obviously, you had a better Socrates then than you've got now. Although Socrates obviously now left. We go into the midfield. Our midfield pretty much this season was Torreira and Xhaka. You had a better Torreira then. I felt like this Torreira was performing quite well. The first 6 months, it was a revelation, in fact. But towards the end of the season, I remember Emery started playing him in the 10 role. This was something that was happening a lot in Spanish football, where the 10 would actually be a ball winner because teams wanted to win the ball high up the pitch. So it kind of changed the 10 role. But Torreira certainly didn't thrive in that position. I mean, you're right. Granit Xhaka was in a team then that wasn't achieving the things it really needed to, and he's still in a team now not achieving things that we need to. It's like he's an ever-present in the Arsenal, failure story. Unfortunately, he's been the main midfielder. So Xhaka and Torreira. I mean, you look at the midfielders on the bench: El Neni, Guendouzi, and Willock. I mean, it's pretty poor. Guendouzi that season was decent. El Neni was what he always has been, not very good. And Willock was even probably less experienced at that time, so he wasn't great either. As I said, Aaron Ramsey was our attacking midfielder, and he was injured. He was a massive loss in this game. was Aaron Ramsey, a player we definitely needed. Smash the likes, people. Keep getting your comments in. Lots of conversation. I want to know your opinions. I'm going to try and keep this as, I'm going to be as fair as possible. Emery and Arteta, who was the better manager, who had the better squad, who got more out of them teams. So big up everyone. Xhaka should never play for Arsenal again. And then we go, obviously we got Saka, but at the time we weren't looking at Saka as no superstar. He was just a young buck at this time. Amici, I don't even think he's still at Arsenal. And Iwobi, who'd had a decent season, to be honest, for Iwobi. Eddie Nketiah, he was still there then. Fair play to him. And Danny Welbeck, the legend, man, Welbs, Danny Welbeck, Danny Welbeck, Danny Welbeck was one of them players that for some reason I liked him as a player. He wasn't good enough to be like starting lineup and score 20 goals. He was never going to score 20 goals for Arsenal. But I just liked Welbeck. I don't know why. He was a very good sub. I remember when we played Liverpool once and he came on and ripped Trent apart because he was quite tall, Welbeck, deceivingly tall. And quick as well. Good athlete, Welbeck, but he just didn't have the goals in the locker. Big up Fran, Forever Football with Franny Green. Yes, everyone. Callum said, wasn't your first video about this final? It was. It actually was. I was sitting in the car, just got back to my house, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a preview for this game, and I'm just going to put it out. I just literally put my phone on the steering wheel and just recorded. And then after the game, I was so angry. I had to do a reaction video because of how bad it went. And, it all started from there. And here we are, people. As I said, appreciate the support. As you said, bro, Danny Welbeck, Manchester born and bred, United fan. And he scores at Old Trafford and celebrates. You go down as some sort of legend in my eyes. Not a real legend, like on real nothing, but just in folklore, And the header, Danny Welbeck against Leicester. The roof nearly came off the stadium that day. Well, you know what I mean, the sort of roof. Valentine's Day, I think it was 2015-16 season. Leicester's title, I thought it was ours. Ozil whips in the free kick. Welbeck heads it in. Scenes in the North Bank. I thought we'd won the title that year. How did it all go so wrong, people? And obviously Mesut Ozil was here as well. Mesut, who... Emery was dropping him at this time. He was in and out the team. He tried to sort of ditch him, and then the fans were calling for him to come back. And then he was back in. He had a horror show in this game. It is what it is. Probably one of his lowest moments. Baku gave birth to Curtis Shaw TV. Yeah, man, the positive came out of the negative, you see. And then the two strikers, listen, Aubameyang and Lacazette. And where you have to give credit here as well is Unai Emery got a lot out of them too. He got a lot out of them too, Aubameyang won the Golden Boot in the Premier League this season. He finished level with Mane and Mo Salah that season on 23 Premier League goals. And Lacazette got Player of the Season, voted by the fans. Although he only scored 13 goals in the league, he scored a lot of big goals that season. And he won Player of the Season. So Emery got a lot out of these two. This partnership really thrived under Unai Emery. What I will say about Emery as well, he managed to get £40 million for Alex Iwobi. He got Iwobi to a sort of level that a club was willing to pay £40 million for him. That deal to me is still one of the best deals ever in Arsenal history in terms of a player sale, to get £40 million for Alex Iwobi. So, I think he does deserve some credit for a lot of things. Those two's partnership was outstanding. And as you said here, I miss prime Lacazette. I think this was prime Lacazette. Full head of hair. Now he's got the little Zidane tornado at the back of his head going off. This Lacazette was elite. I'm not going to lie. Although the numbers don't represent it, he was a massive player. Jack said, Aubameyang and Lacazette, 70-plus goal assists together and brought Saka and ESR. Thank you very much for your super chat, bro. Yeah, Emery deserves credit. Emery really pushed the young players at Arsenal, Saka here, I believe, was 17, and he's on the bench. He brought ESR through as well. He did well in that sense. He did well. And like I said, to get £40 million for Alex Iwobi is absolute. I mean, listen, I don't want to be too harsh on him, but wow. Unbelievable deal. I think the Iwobi deal was more Raul than Emery. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Raul negotiated the deal, and we know Raul, chief negotiator, brown envelopes everywhere. But Iwobi performed at a certain level for Everton to be willing to pay that. And Emery got that out of him. What I will say against Unai Emery, because ultimately I can't just big up Unai Emery for this season that he had, because ultimately we lost this final, right? Even though I blame the players for the final, to me, a player should not need motivation for a final. So I don't blame Unai Emery for this final. This final is the players' fault. What I blame Unai Emery for, he bottled the last month of the Premier League season, and he trebled the amount of pressure on this game, and it wasn't necessary. Top 4 should have been secured and in the bag. This game should have been a bonus. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But he made it that we had to win this game. Obviously, any final you have to win. But let's be honest, if we lost this game to Chelsea and finished top 4, we would have been able to get our heads around it. It's disappointing, but we would have been in the top 4. So ultimately, this Unai Emery squad is not a very good squad. As I said, for anyone that's joined late, Bellerin, Ramsey, Mkhitaryan and Holding and Chambers were not in this squad, and they obviously were all Arsenal players. Mkhitaryan couldn't travel. Ramsey, Holding, Chambers, they were all injured, and Bellerin was injured for most of the season. So there's the Unai Emery squad. That's the start of his squad. And we're going to look now at the Mikel Arteta squad, if you like, and see what he had to work with. And listen, I think it's clear. And as you said here, Ramsey was the biggest miss for Ramsey was a huge miss. Huge miss for Arsenal, because I think if Ramsey plays that game, we had no third man runner in that final. We had no one from midfield that could go and join in, could make life difficult for Chelsea in that game, and it became the Eden Hazard show. He just literally ripped us apart in that game. You know, I think that was his last game for Chelsea as well. And you know, as I say, I don't blame Unai Emery for that final defeat, because players should be motivated for a final. Shouldn't need motivating by a manager. But what I will blame Emery for is the way he finished the season. That game should have been a no-pressure final, where this is a bonus, top 4's in the bag. We're going into a Europa League final, and if we win, then great. If we don't win, we're still in the Champions League. We can still go and get the signings that we want. We can still get the players that we want, and we can move forward. But he didn't do that. And, you know, some of the decisions he made at the back end of that season. I remember the Crystal Palace game. I remember going to the Palace game, and Zaha was on fire that season. And this guy played Jenkinson and Mavropanos and Mustafi. You all remember that game. Mustafi got caught on the wrong side of Zaha, and Zaha scored. I remember going to the game, and I'm sitting in the car, and they're going, Christian Benteke's up front, and Benteke hasn't scored for like 8 hours of football. And I go to the game, and I'm sitting in the stadium, ball gets whipped in, Benteke, 1-0. And I'm like, come on. Why do we always do this? Why are we always the team that if you haven't scored for like 10 games, you'll play Arsenal and they'll just give you a goal? You know, here, have your goal, break your record. I think Pookie did the same at Norwich. Went 7-8 games without scoring after the start in the season. Well, plays Arsenal, guess what? He scores, you know, straight away. And they're off, you know, you break your duck. It's crazy, Arsenal. We're just that team that will always hand out gifts, unfortunately, man. But hey, it is what it is. Crystal Palace was the worst. When Benteke's scoring bullet headers against you, you know you're in trouble, man. Emery wanted to, we're going to talk about that. Don't worry. We are going to talk about the transfer situation as well. Reddit says Unai Emery, Arteta. Well, we'll make that at the end. You know, we'll talk about that at the end. Right, let me show you I've just picked a game where the majority of the best players are in the squad, right, for Mikel Arteta. Obviously, there'll be a couple there probably that are missing. Let me just move that down a little bit so you can see. There you go. So this is pretty much, I mean, looking at it, I'm just trying to think who's missing from this squad. Cedric's there. Most of them are there, as far as I can see. So obviously you got Leno, Lacazette, Martinelli, Pepe, Willian, Partey. It's pretty much the full squad. I think Rob Holding is missing from this. You could say Balogun. And we're there. And listen, I agree with this, and I am going to put this into account when I talk about players that are here now that were there then. Are they better players than they were now? For example, you would probably say that Aubameyang was better under Unai Emery than he is now. And the reason people are saying here, show the FA Cup final. The only reason I'm not showing the FA Cup final is because this is a better squad than the FA Cup final squad. And this is Mikel Arteta's full season in charge, you know. So I don't want to, and that was Unai Emery's full season in charge team. So the FA Cup final has got no Partey, no Gabriel. So I'm showing both from their full season, you know, which I think is the easiest way to do the debate. Yeah, no Nelson, but let's face it, Nelson doesn't get picked anyway. But I will make it as fair as I can. Now, you look at the goalkeepers here. Although this Hein is a goalkeeper, right? We've got Leno and Matt Ryan compared to Leno and Peter Cech. What is better? I would say Leno is better now than he was when we signed him. I think he is a better goalkeeper now. I think he has improved. Is he better than Emi Martinez? That's a whole other debate. But I think Leno is better now than he was under Unai Emery. He'd only recently joined the club, and he's definitely got a slightly better defence in front of him. I said Martinez is better than Leno. I mean, that opens up a whole different can of worms when we have that conversation. As soon as you join, just hit the like button. Curtis is very good at what he does and brings to the community on YouTube. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. So goalkeeper situation is similar. Leno is better than Cech even when we signed him. Leno definitely better now. Leno, Martinez for real. The goalkeepers is similar, right? So we move on from that. You look at the right back situation now. We've got Hector Bellerin and Cedric. Obviously, we've loaned out Ainsley Maitland-Niles. At that time, we had Bellerin, Maitland-Niles, and Lichtsteiner and Jenkinson. So we had more right backs, but not necessarily better ones. I would say that Cedric is better than that Maitland-Niles and probably better than Bellerin as well. But the right backs, you know, we haven't improved the right back situation really when you look at it. Bellerin actually started that season under Unai Emery really well. I remember he was getting assists. He looked quite sharp. Still wasn't great defensively. But then obviously he got that injury and was out all season. Lichtsteiner was absolutely shocking. I remember watching him play for Switzerland in the World Cup or the Euros. No, I think it was the World Cup, the summer before we signed him. And he looked quite steady for Switzerland. And he comes to Arsenal and I swear he looked like an old man. He couldn't run. He couldn't keep up with the tempo of the game. He was shocking. Absolutely shocking. But yeah, I think right back is not much different. Bellerin and Cedric. They had Maitland-Niles and Bellerin. It's still not good enough, really. We're still scratching at the surface. When you look at Leicester. Leicester have got James Justin and Ricardo Pereira. Both their right backs are better than all of our right backs. You know, you look at Man United, they've got Wan-Bissaka. You look at Man City, they've got Cancelo and Kyle Walker. You look at Liverpool, they've got Trent. Chelsea have got Reece James. They can play Azpilicueta. Tottenham's are not great, Aurier and Doherty. But we have got really poor right backs in the context of the rest of the big six, if you like. We're definitely below a lot of them. Hardly Lee Dixon's or Lawrence, unfortunately. You're right. You look at the centre-backs. We've got David Luiz, Gabriel, Pablo Mari, Callum Chambers and Rob Holding. I would say we've got better centre-backs now than we had then. Although not by much, but I think that Socrates was better than the one that left. He was pretty solid without being spectacular. That Koscielny was at the back end of his career, was kind of fading a little bit. Nacho wasn't bad in a back three on the left side of the three, but we had Mustafi. I would say the centre-backs are better. Gabriel is better than anything we had then. Pablo Mari is better. Luiz is probably even better, to be honest. Chambers is kind of where he is. So I would say the centre backs are better in Mikel Arteta's pairing. Anything, like you said, once Mustafi is out the way, then anything improves. Definitely improved. And you've seen it with the goal record this season in the Premier League that we have been better in defence. We move to left back. Problem is we've only got one left back. That's the problem. Then we had Nacho and Kolasinac. Now we've got Kieran Tierney. Tierney is better than Monreal, I think. Monreal did become quite dependable, Mr. Reliable, if you like. But I don't think he had the all-round ability that Kieran Tierney's got. And then Kolasinac as backup. Obviously, we have no backup left back now. So we've got a better left back, but we need a second left back. I reckon this summer you'll see Arsenal buy some Ryan Bertrand or Van Arnold or somebody like that to just come in and be, number two. Tierney is clear of both yet. So I would say left back, this one's better. But we should have a second left back. That's one thing. Oh, definitely. Yeah, Tierney's better than Nacho for me. Tierney is, I think he's more solid, stronger, better at crossing. I think he's better. I do. I do think Nacho became very dependable at the end of his career. But for me, I would definitely say that Tierney was better. Hey, big up, man. Man put all the flags in. Quality that. Tierney is great, but has some average games now and then. Yeah, doesn't help when you chop and change the winger as well. He doesn't get used to a real partnership with anyone. We look in the midfield. Obviously, Thomas Partey was on the bench for this game, but obviously he's in the squad. Thomas Partey, Ceballos, Xhaka, El Neni. It's still poor. It's still poor, I've got to be honest, man. Outside of Thomas Partey, it's genuinely, it could be a bottom half of the Premier League table centre midfield. And like people are saying, Thomas Partey hasn't played, so it's almost difficult to include him. It's mad. It's mad. El Neni, he's the same player he was then, not good enough. Xhaka, same player he was then, not good enough. Dani Ceballos, he's so inconsistent. And back then you did have Torreira, who was great for the first half of that season. You had Guendouzi, who had a decent season that year. And so those two, it's so bad, right? I'm inclined to say this midfield is better because we've got Thomas Partey. But when you look at the amount of games Thomas Partey has played, then I'm almost likely to say that Emery had a better midfield, because what's the point having a better player that doesn't play for you? People saying Xhaka's got even worse. I mean, maybe he makes even more mistakes. At least at that time, we had a solid Torreira. We had an upcoming Guendouzi. Xhaka was Xhaka. This midfield is better if Partey is playing, but because he hasn't played, you've got to say that Emery had better players to work with. Guendouzi was decent that year, and Torreira for the first 6 months was brilliant. And as you said, how am I forgetting? We had Aaron Ramsey, people. We had Aaron Ramsey. One of the best, I'd say, third-man run midfielders in the league. He made fantastic runs, scored goals. So I got to say he had better midfielders. Unai Emery. Outside of Thomas Partey, Arteta's basically got nothing. But then Jack makes a point. Jack, thank you very much for the super chat, bro. And this is a good point. Arteta has the players. He just sent them on loan. You make a good point. Because I look at it like this. If we had a four right now of Thomas Partey, Dani Ceballos, because we brought him on loan. So let's say them two. Guendouzi and Torreira. That is a better four than the four we've got now. Like, realistically, we've got two better midfielders on loan than two midfielders that are getting regular game time at Arsenal. El Neni. Even Xhaka for me. Like, Xhaka, I would rather have well, how can I say it? Xhaka makes more mistakes than the other ones. Let's put it that way. You know, El Neni and Xhaka, you know where they're at. I think Guendouzi wanted to be at Arsenal despite his misbehaviour. You know, Torreira's a little bit different. I never really got the impression Torreira was happy to be in England. You know, I think he's spoken about Italy a lot of time. Although the Atletico Madrid move has been a disaster. So you make a great point there, Jack. You know, really, you should have kept Guendouzi at the club and maybe even Torreira and moved on El Neni and maybe even moved on Xhaka. Don Arsenal said, Curtis, I'm from Ghana and an Arsenal fan, but don't get why Arsenal fans hype Partey. Don't do that. Don't spoil our excitement. What are you saying? He's not as good as we thought? To be honest, I look at Partey, I think, look, number one, he's been injured a heck of a lot. If he was fit, if you put a better centre midfielder next to him, I think he's a top player. I honestly do. I think he's quality. I think it's difficult to come out of Spain, come to England. You've come from a top team in Spain to a team that is mid-table. You're playing next to bang average players like Xhaka and El Neni, and you're getting injured. So no, I think Thomas Partey is a top footballer. I really do. I just think he needs better players around him. You look at the attacking midfield role, Odegaard and Smith Rowe. I'm going to put it out there, people. I think Unai Emery had better attacking midfielders. He had a very inconsistent, again, Mesut Ozil that performed occasionally. You know, I remember the Leicester performance where he was magic. But not much after that. But he had Aaron Ramsey. And I believe Aaron Ramsey is a better attacking midfielder at that time as well, 2 years ago, than Smith Rowe and Odegaard are right now. So I got to be honest, Emery had better attacking midfielders, if I'm being totally honest. Ozil and Ramsey is better than Odegaard and Smith Rowe at that time, in my opinion. Ramsey was still banging goals in. I know he was more of a number 8. I get you. He was. He didn't play out and out 10, but often he played. He was the one that could make the runs, you know, and he was scoring a few goals. He was like the attacking centre mid, if you know what I mean, rather than the actual number 10. Tell me what you think, people. Bjorn said I disagree. Do you think Odegaard and Smith Rowe is better than Ramsey and Ozil from 2 years ago? Let me know. I personally think Ramsey definitely better than Smith Rowe at this stage. Odegaard, maybe we haven't seen enough yet, but at the moment, I would say Ramsey was more effective than what we're seeing of Odegaard. Whether he's a better player is a different story. Let me know in the comments, people. Oh, Melly, big up for the super chat, bro. Thank you very much. Says, big up, Curtis. Have to blame Mikel in part. Players make the mistakes, but he picks the players. Xhaka mistakes in consecutive games, but will start. Spot on. Say it all the time. No player picks himself, right? No player if Xhaka's making mistakes, don't pick him. Don't pick him. You know, why are we not seeing Ceballos and Thomas Partey play next to each other? You know, you've got Ceballos on loan from Real Madrid. He's a Spanish international. You've got the option of buying him in the summer. Give him a consistent run in the team. I know he had an absolute shocker against Benfica, but he's got more ability on the ball than Xhaka. And I actually think Partey would play decent with Ceballos because I think they're both good on the ball. I think they're the two best ball players that we've got. Because they're progressive. They look forward quicker. So thank you very much, O'Malley. Brian said Ramsey and Ozil way better. Yeah, I'd have to agree. Although at times Ozil was very, very quiet. But Ramsey certainly, Ramsey was better than Odegaard and ESR. Let's look at the strikers. And the thing is, and you know what? This is why I wanted to do this, because everyone at the start looked at that team and looked at this team and said, Emery's got a way worse team. But when you're going into certain positions, you're going, actually, he's got good players there and he had good players there. So it's not as clear-cut as it looks. Now, simply put, Lacazette and Aubameyang, we're doing the strikers and then we'll go back to the wingers. Lacazette and Aubameyang, I think it's quite obvious. They were better 2 years ago than they are now. Now, what I will say, Emery has to take some credit for that, because ultimately he got more out of those two. You know, Aubameyang won the Golden Boot in the Premier League. Lacazette won Player of the Season. Now, one thing I will say about Emery that is a bit of a criticism. I'm a season ticket holder. I watched nearly every home game that season under Unai Emery, and I have to admit, I enjoyed that season because we played. No, I won't say we played great football. We won a lot of games and we scored goals. What I will say, we were individual quality FC a lot of the time. Don't get me wrong, there were certain goals under Emery where it really clicked. Leicester at home, the Ozil move with Lacazette and Aubameyang scores. Fulham away, Aaron Ramsey little back flick. I think that won goal of the season. Tottenham at home, you know, the move where Aubameyang bends it in the corner, you know, Bellerin into Ramsey, into Oba. But a lot of games, it was individual brilliance from the front two. You know, I remember Everton where Lacazette scored that belter top corner posting in. You know, games where I was like, yo, we're going to draw. We're going to draw this game. We're not playing well. And all of a sudden, we pulled a rabbit out the hat. A lot of Man United fans say that about Solskjaer. It's not necessarily collective brilliance, but, you know, individuals are thriving under him. What I will say under Emery is you look at the front three that season. Iwobi got a £40 million move. Lacazette won Player of the Season, and Aubameyang won the Golden Boot. So you have to give him a lot of credit for what he did with that front line. You really do. But ultimately, in defence of Arteta, I would say Aubameyang and Lacazette were better then than they are now. So I have to say Emery had the better strikers, because I feel they were more vibrant then. They were quicker, they were younger, they were sharper. But then Emery deserves the credit for what he got out of them as well. So there you go. We are where we are with that one, people. We are where we are. I mean, yeah, as you say, this bench is way better than the one that Unai Emery had. You know, look at the quality on that bench. Pepe, 72 million. Lacazette, 50 million. Martinelli, one of the best young players at the football club. You know, Partey obviously would usually play. Willian, you know, he brought him in on massive wages. Big up Peter Mounsey. Curtis, stop sitting on the fence. Who's better? I'm saying Emery. Big up Big C. Peter, listen, I've got, for the sake of the show, I have to sit on the fence. I'll give you more my opinion at the end. I have to make this as fair as possible. You know, I have to make this as fair as possible. Man said, hi, and who this? I think he's a goalkeeper, actually, young goalkeeper. Aubameyang and Lacazette were younger. They have declined. I don't give Emery credit. I do. You have to give him some credit. You know, you have to give him some credit. He got more out of them. You know, you can't not. If we're going to give Arteta credit for Saka and what he's doing with him, we've got to give Emery credit for what he got out of Aubameyang and Lacazette, you know. We used to concede 20 to 25 shots every game under Emery, especially more in the second season, definitely. Second season, he crumbled. Emery scored season, had defensive injuries. Big up Curtis. Remember, bro, Gerrard managing Rangers, how bad it started out. Transition takes time. It does. It definitely does. They have better service to the strikers. What, this team or that team? 22 unbeaten. Yeah, we can't forget. Emery went 22 games unbeaten. I think one of the best unbeaten records at Arsenal. So, hey, right, let's get out of that. Let's get onto our next screen. I actually forgot to do the wingers there, didn't I? So basically, rounding up, Arteta clearly had better wingers anyway. Arteta's got Pepe, Martinelli, Saka, who is better than he was then, and Willian. And Emery had Iwobi and Mkhitaryan. And sometimes he played Aubameyang wide or Danny Welbeck. So I think it's safe to say Arteta definitely had better wingers and a stronger bench. So I think overall, Arteta had a slightly better squad. Well, in certain positions, far better. You know, the defence, the bench, the strength in depth. Emery didn't have anything really. But in certain attacking positions, Arteta did have better players. I think Laka and Aubameyang were better under Emery because of the age, although he did get more out of them. And I think Emery had better attacking midfielders in Ramsey, and a younger Ozil, and even in the middle of the part, outside of Thomas Partey, we ain't really got nothing now. But as you said, Arteta's pushed out a couple of midfielders that you would probably have kept in the squad now. Emery is better than Arteta out. Emery's levels above Arteta. Emery played Martinelli, he did. Jack, thank you very much for the super chat, bro. He said, enjoyed watching the team 1,000 times more under Emery. And I agree with that. I can't deny that. That season, although we bottled it at the end, I enjoyed it. We won so many. Tottenham, we beat Man United, we beat Chelsea, we beat Napoli, home and away. We beat Valencia, It was a roller coaster that was so disappointing in the end. But hey, it is what it is. We're going to look at a few more stats, people. Right. I want to look at a few more things. So, because ultimately, no matter what we say about Emery, it did go wrong. It did go wrong. And I have to admit, even though a lot of people say now that Emery was a better manager, I think most of us did want him sacked at the time he was sacked. People felt like it had come to an end, unfortunately. And, that's just the way it happens, which was unfortunate. So this was the 2018-19 league table. And this is painful to look at. This brings pain to my eyes, people. Arsenal finished 5th, 1 point behind Tottenham, 1 point. We were 2 points off finishing 3rd in the league. How did we bottle it? I think of certain games, man. Crystal Palace at home, Brighton at home. I remember we went to Wolves. We made them look like Barcelona. We didn't get near them. We just let them have the ball. Just one win. One win would have got us 3rd. Where would we have been right now, people? What conversation would we be having right now? Still have nightmares. You know what I'm saying? Palace at home, he threw that game away. This is where Emery started to go wrong. Emery, when he had crunch time games in the Europa League, he didn't know how to balance that squad. I think we had Napoli on the Thursday. And we had Palace at home on the weekend, and he made changes. He brought in El Neni, he brought in Jenkinson, he brought in Mavropanos. We started a back 4. We had Jenkinson at right back and Mavropanos and Mustafi at centre back. I think Monreal was left back. And like I said, Benteke hadn't scored for weeks, and he scored against us. And then, Zaha ripped us apart, and all from there it went downhill. Yep, definitely wanted Emery sacked. And this is what I say. I big up Emery to a certain point because it was an enjoyable season. Wenger left and we were like, we don't know what's going to happen. He came in, he was vibrant, he had ideas, the team was scoring goals. We got to the Europa League final. That European season was fantastic. I remember when we went to, was it Rennes away? I think we lost, and the home game, we turned it around and we beat Napoli home and away, and we beat Valencia, Aubameyang hat-trick. That was a roller coaster that season. We beat United, Chelsea, Tottenham. There were so many great moments that season, but ultimately we fell short, and it was painful because where could we have been now? I think you sacked Emery too early. I just think the fans had enough. When we go into teams like Watford and just giving them possession and letting them have 20 shots on goal, it was like, this isn't how you do it, Unai. You got too scared of the opposition. Thank you very much to Drogbino. Really appreciate the super chat, bro. He said, I strongly disagree with you. If Emery had this team, I blame Arteta. 2021 lineup, 4-2-3-1. I think you meant to put it's come up as 4-3, but listen, I get you. Martinez, Maitland-Niles, Tierney, Gabriel, Saliba, Partey, Guendouzi, Smith-Rowe, Pepe, Saka, Aubameyang. I mean, it's certainly an exciting team, a young, vibrant defence. And, maybe he should have kept Saliba and Maitland-Niles and Guendouzi. That's another argument for another show. I think a lot of people feel like Arteta has not treated some of these younger players as good as he could have done. But, it is what it is at the end of the day, unfortunately. But really appreciate your super chat, bro. I agree to a certain extent. I think Emery with this squad would probably be doing better than what we're seeing. But ultimately, I'm not going to hide from the fact that he got sacked. Most fans did want him sacked. And I agree with this. This is the biggest reason why Emery got sacked. He lost the dressing room. The communication due to the language barrier. And, you know, it was quite cruel in the end because people were taking the mick out of the way he spoke. I almost think Emery would have been better off not speaking English until he really mastered English. Do you know what I mean? Like, I respect the fact that he was trying to do interviews in English, but he really struggled. It felt like over the season his English wasn't improving. I know it's very difficult to learn a language. I'm not questioning him for that. I just think he needed to grasp the language quickly, especially at Arsenal. I always say Arsenal's dressing room is like misbehaving kids, and he needed to grasp that, and he didn't get hold of that. And I think that's why he lost. I mean, I'm going to look at one positive, one negative. You look at Arsenal. We scored 73 goals that season. Only Manchester City and Liverpool, who, look, they ran away with the league that year. 97, 98 points, 89 goals for Liverpool, 95 for Man City. We scored 73. We scored 10 goals more than Chelsea. We scored 8 goals more than Man United, 6 more than Tottenham. The problem is 51 goals conceded, more than any team in the top 9. You know, 10th was West Ham. And I think this is what the problem was with Unai Emery. I think the season after, he tried to overcompensate too much. And then I think he got too defensive. You know, I think he got too defensive the next season. And that's where it all went wrong for Unai Emery. And where I think he messed up. Instead of thinking, you know what, we've scored 73 goals, I'm going to continue with my attack, but just try and tweak that defence and trim 10 or 15 goals off how many we conceded. He overcompensated, and all of a sudden we weren't scoring goals, and even the defence started crumbling. So he was like a master of his own downfall. What I will say in his defence, and what the guy even came out with after he left the football club, he wanted Wilfried Zaha, Thomas Partey, and Harry Maguire. Those are the 3 players he asked the board for. They're the 3 players that he wanted to sign, and we didn't get them. You know, we didn't get any of them. We got Pepe, we got David Luiz, we got Dani Ceballos, you know. So it's fair to say it must be difficult as a manager when you're asking for certain players and not getting them, you know. But hey, good evening versus trust the process. It pretty much was that, wasn't it? You know, it pretty much was that. Man City had 72 goal difference. Liverpool had 67. Them numbers are just phenomenal. Glad we didn't get the fridge. I mean, listen, I wouldn't have wanted the fridge, but what it told me was he wanted a dominant centre-half, someone who was physically commanded. So I wouldn't have wanted Maguire, but I understand the kind of centre-back he wanted. Big up John Layout with a super chat. Did you see the reaction of Arteta's assistant against Burnley? And that's what happens when you keep average players like Xhaka. I didn't even see his reaction, you know. What was he doing? Was he just... Is that the guy with the... what's it called, man? The ear things, man. What do you call them? The AirPods. Mr. AirPods. What a crazy guy he is. I just don't understand it. And I've said this a lot of times. You look at the 3 inexperienced managers who got the job at the start of the season. Jack, apologies if I miss your super chat. I believe I read them all out. You look at Frank Lampard. He brought in an inexperienced backroom staff. He brought in Jody Morris, Eddie Newton. Didn't work for him, got sacked. You look at Arteta. No real experience around him, right? And I think that's why he's struggling a bit. Some of them are experienced, but they've been at like Brentford and teams like that. You look at Solskjaer, the one thing that probably helps him, he's got Mike Phelan to lean on. Mike Phelan was Alex Ferguson's assistant manager. That's a great bit of experience to lean on, you know, when you need it. So I think that helped him massively. The real Janice, big up, bro, for the super chat. He said, bro, we have to put into context. Emery was garbage. He continued the same crappy transfers. Arteta has started an overall. Results are poor, but let's see. I think my biggest issue, right, is this. I think we can all agree that Unai Emery ultimately failed, right? He ultimately failed, especially in this second season. He bottled it. He started panicking too much. And if we look at this, I just want to show you one thing before we move on. Right, this is a picture of the Premier League table when Unai Emery was sacked. So this is the second season, right? Emery got sacked in this position. So we look at that table. That is the position that Emery got sacked from. Now, don't get me wrong, we were terrible. Look, we was on -1 goal difference. Look at Leicester. Leicester were on +23 after 13 games. I believe the 9-0 against Southampton's in there, though. But look, Man City and Liverpool were banging goals left, right and centre. We're on -1. But the thing what's crazy, even though we sacked him in this position, which is a bad position, 4 wins out of 13 is not good enough. He was drawing too many games because we got negative. As I said, he got too defensive. He was conceding too many chances. That wasn't the end of the world position. We were 8 points off 4th, so maybe there was a panic. But what I mean is we were above Man United. We were above Man United and above Tottenham when he got sacked. As I say, the problem was for me, and I always agree with this, I felt Emery had lost the dressing room. Now, as I say, we got a whole heap of, misbehaving players. They were like naughty kids in a classroom. There were rumours that players were taking the mick out of him, copying his accent. It's disrespectful, and I don't like it. But when you lose a dressing room, it's easier to sack one manager than maybe sell 10 players, But what I think is crazy, we were a point off 5th. All right, we were 8 points off 4th. What's even more crazy about this situation, and what literally just is the most amazing thing about this stat, how could you look at this table right now, right? How could you look at this table and think to yourself, Manchester United finished above Leicester from that position? Manchester United, look where they are. They're 1 point below us. They're 12 points behind Leicester. How even more crazy is it to think that Leicester didn't even make the top 4 from that position? They didn't even make the top 4. And that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Leicester came out the top 4 and Man United finished above Leicester with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge, But hey, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But his job is to communicate and demand respect. As I said, I almost think he would have been better off not speaking English until he really mastered it, and maybe used a translator in the dressing room. So yeah, I appreciate your point, Giannis. But when you've got players with soft mentality that want to play up, as I said, naughty kids in the classroom. This is why I wanted a Mourinho, an Allegri, a Conte, a Pochettino, an Ancelotti, because I feel like these players, they need a real boss to come in and say, listen to what the big man's saying. You can't just play up, Smartly done. Shows how big an impact a signing like Bruno can make. Great point. He transformed that Man United team. Absolutely transformed it. So yeah, that's a brilliant point. Bruno really came in and turned that team around. And when you look at this, again, I'm sharing screens again here. I've just got to show you. This is how the table finished up. So when Emery was sacked, we were like, a couple of points off 5th. We finished the season 6 points off 5th, and we never really moved. You look at that season there, 14 wins, 14 draws, 14 draws. It's just too many. You turn 5 of them into wins. Who knows where you are, 10 defeats, 14 draws. Horrible season. Horrible season. Do you know what I mean? Horrible, horrible season. But what I will give Mikel Arteta credit for, and what I have to give him credit for, he won a trophy. He won a trophy. Now, no matter what you think of an FA Cup, it was great for the football club. I think it opened a lot of people's eyes that the club can achieve something with this manager. I think it helped convince Aubameyang to stay at the football club, because I think he looked at it and thought, okay, we can do something here. But the problem is this football club now, it's a combination of probably the manager, the players, and the owner. They have not built on it. They have not built on it at all. The real Giannis said, "Same. I wanted Allegri, Poch. You know, they were the players that I was looking at as well." But I just think it's crazy that we didn't build on that FA Cup. You know, he didn't build on it. And was he backed sufficiently in the summer? You know, did he get enough in terms of new players? But for me, this season's been unacceptable. It's been absolutely unacceptable. I've watched Manchester United so many times this season, right? And they're nothing special. They've got some individual quality, but they're nothing special. And they're second in the Premier League. You know, Chelsea have been nothing special. They've sacked their manager. And we're miles behind them. You know, you look at West Ham, David Moyes, Jesse Lingard in the 10, Fabianski in goal, Craig Dawson at centre-back. And they look better than us. You know, listen, people, we're 10 points. People saying 16 points off United. We are 10 points behind West Ham United, people. 10 points. 10 points behind West Ham. That is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. When you put into context that last season, right? Last season, we finished 8th, right? We finished 8th last season. And West Ham finished 16th. West Ham finished 16th in the league, 39 points. West Ham finished 17 points behind us in the Premier League last season. And they're now 10 points clear of us. Absolutely shocking, you know, that is not good enough. What I will say with Arteta, where I'm at with Arteta right now, no Arsenal fan in the world should be happy or accepting 10th in the Premier League. As Kev said to me, don't accept where we are, but you've got to accept what's happening at the club at the moment. I get that. My issue is we should be doing more than what we're doing. You know, people saying Allegri's going to Shakhtar. I mean, if that happens, that's crazy. I just think Arteta should be getting more out of this club. Listen, we have to face facts, and I've already faced facts. Arteta will be the Arsenal manager next season. He will be the Arsenal manager. They haven't got the backbone to sack him. If you watch yesterday's show when we was talking about the finances, the club announced that it cost them over £10 million to sack Unai Emery and all his staff members. They're not going to sack Mikel Arteta, right, and then go and spend big money on an Allegri to come in, because they should have done that when Emery left. We had the option of Allegri, Mourinho, Poch, all of these players, all of these managers who were available, and they didn't want to spend the money. Jack, apologies that I missed your super chat, bro. I honestly didn't see it. He said, Curtis, my super chat was about Xhaka giving away a penalty versus Brighton, end of Emery season. I was at that game, bro. Just fouled him, got outrun. Unbelievable. KC, but Curtis, you see, we're only 8 points behind Liverpool. Yo, I need to get Kev on this week still. We're going to have a lot to talk about after Olympiacos. Curtis, try and make your own football team. Yeah, it'd be good, to be fair. What I will say, Unai Emery wasn't backed sufficiently, right? He wasn't given the players that he wanted to buy. But ultimately, he became his own worst enemy because he got too obsessed with the other team's attack. As you could see from the stats, we scored a lot of goals under Emery, but we conceded too many. And the following season, it's like he was scared to concede, and that damaged the attack. He also lost the dressing room, and he also had the pressure that we were having poor results with the fans in the stadium. Arteta is quite fortunate that there's been no fans at the stadium, because I think if there'd been fans there, he'd probably have been sacked, because I don't think the fans would have accepted losing to Burnley, getting battered by Aston Villa and games like that. I just don't think they would have accepted it. But I have to give him credit for the FA Cup. The FA Cup was a great moment. You never forget, as a fan, as a player, winning trophies, right? You don't remember the season where you finished fifth. You remember the season where you won a trophy, right? That's the biggest thing. So Mikel Arteta does deserve credit for winning a trophy, because let's face it, not every manager wins trophies. Ollie hasn't won a trophy. Poch never won a trophy in England. Lampard, I don't think, won a trophy either. Emery didn't win a trophy, right? My biggest problem is, why have we not built on this trophy? Why have we not improved since winning the FA Cup? You know, why is Nicolas Pepe in and out the team? Why is Martinelli not getting a kick at the moment? Why have we let midfielders go that are better quality than some of these players that you've kept in the squad, i.e. El Neni, potentially Xhaka, when you've let the likes of Guendouzi, Torreira go on loan? It's not like you sold them, got cash and reinvested it. Now, he said he wanted Aouar as well in the summer. Apparently, we couldn't afford it. Why didn't we sell Ainsley Maitland-Niles? Wolves wanted to pay 20 million for him. Why didn't we sell him? We kept him and didn't play him. You know, we might as well have took 20 million for him and kept it moving. So it didn't make sense. Why he kept him? He could have took the 20 million. He could have took the 20 million and gone and bought him, but he didn't. Fans can dine out on the FA Cup win and enjoy it. The players and managers can't celebrate it and move on. And I agree with that. Players have to move on. Watch Pep's interview with Rio Ferdinand on YouTube, where Ferdinand's talking about when they won the FA Cup final, why are you on the pitch having a go at Sterling? Because he's seen him make mistakes. And Pep's saying, listen, lift the trophy, celebrate, go home, and that's it. We go again. We got to win the next one. And this is what I think the fans and the club, in one sense, are sort of saying. We've won the FA Cup and we're going to keep talking about it. No, win it, celebrate it, put it in the cabinet, and let's go. We need to win the Europa League. We need to win the Europa League, people. We have to find a way of winning the Europa League this season. I feel like it's Europa League or bust. I'm going to show you a quick couple of things before I get out of here, people. It's been a good show. The hour's flown by. Really appreciate the interaction. Unai Emery. Record at Arsenal. This is Unai Emery, right? 78 games in total, 43 wins, 16 draws, 9 losses, 23 clean sheets, 55% win rate. He had a very, very good record in the Europa League. The league is like 49% win rate. So it's not bad, but it's not good enough. And then if I show you the Mikel Arteta one, where's the Arteta one? Arteta one's here. So Arteta, 69 games, 36 wins, 14 draws, 19 losses, 52% win rate overall. Emery had a 55% win rate overall, so 3% better. He played... Emery was in charge for 9 more games, had 7 more wins. So they're pretty similar in a sense, but then Emery got to a final, finished 5th. Arteta won a trophy. And listen, one thing I will say in Arteta's favour, I think Arteta's had a bigger job in the sense of, I think Emery's thing was go in there and get that team back in the Champions League. All right? With a pretty poor squad when we look at it. Whereas I think Mikel Arteta, he's trying to rebuild the whole football club. He's trying to get players out that needed to be got rid of. He's trying to change the whole culture of the football club. So in that sense, I do defend Arteta. But what I can't defend is the most important thing at a football club are the results on the pitch. So even though you are doing all of those other things, and I respect that, you still have to get results on the pitch. This is a results-based business, right? You have to get results. And I don't think he has produced enough with this squad this season for me to say that Mikel Arteta is doing a good enough job with this squad. So, you know, when we look at this the league this season, it doesn't lie. You know, we're 10 points behind West Ham. We've got a better team than West Ham. So while the overall is happening, my biggest question would be, and there is the question, is Mikel Arteta out of his depth? Is he doing so much that he can't do the job on the pitch? That's my biggest worry with Mikel Arteta. People saying judge him next season. I don't agree with that, because to me, at a top football club, and listen, whether we like it or not, Arsenal are the third biggest club in English football in terms of history, the size of the club, the money they earn, the trophies won. He's been at the club. At the end of this season, he will have had a year and a half at the football club. That is long enough. If you get a new job tomorrow, you get a massive promotion. After a year and a half, we can definitely look and say, you're not doing well or you are doing well. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So while I understand, yes, Mikel Arteta, the better judgment will be next season. He'll get another transfer window. He'll get another opportunity to get rid of some of the deadwood. The simple question is, Mikel, you should not be 10th with that squad of players that you've got. We looked at the squads earlier, Emery and Arteta. Whilst they are closer than a lot of people think, I would still say that Arteta's got a better squad. Look at the depth. Look at the quality that he's able to draw from on the bench. So listen, next season, fine, but you've got to produce something now, my friend. And to me, how I'm looking at it, if Mikel Arteta wins that Europa League, my apology will be I will have a show congratulating that guy, because I'll be in shock. But it's not impossible. We can beat Olympiacos, and let's see where we go from there, hopefully, although we lost to Olympiacos last year. So at this stage, Emery Arteta, I would say Emery edges it. But ultimately, he failed, and Arteta has got the trophy. So does he edge it? It's very, very close. Arteta won the trophy, so that puts him ahead, and he's got a bigger job in terms of the rebuild. So in that sense, Arteta wins. But on the other sense, he didn't really produce in the league, and he didn't really produce in the Europa League last year, so he's got to answer that this year. So at the moment, it's pretty close. What I will say, I enjoyed that full season under Emery more than I've enjoyed Mikel Arteta's first full season. But it's a close one. If you ask me, people, I'll be honest, we should have appointed a different manager. You know, we should have appointed a Poch, a Mourinho, an Ancelotti, and Allegri. We should have got a real top-level manager. But listen, we are where we are. Let's see how the season finishes. I think I've kept it quite fair today. I think I've kept it fair. Everyone was expecting me to just say Emery's better, Emery's better. I've kept it fair. Winning a trophy gives you a lot of credit in the bank, I suppose. It's clear to see that Emery performed better in the league and in the Europa League. And you could say this. You could say Emery and Arteta were both the wrong choice. Possibly they are. People saying, no, Curtis, no Mourinho, look at Spurs. I mean, last time I looked, they were 2 points outside the top four and in a cup final. So he's not doing that bad, really, is he? So, hey, here's what it is. Ancelotti turned Everton around in his first year by spending less money. Say no more, my friend. Ancelotti is definitely one we should have looked at, and he's a world-class manager. But, hey, people, really appreciate you joining me today. I've loved the show. There wasn't too much to talk about, so I thought we'd be a bit creative with it. You've put in some fantastic comments. Let me know in the comments afterwards, if you watch this after the live stream, who do you think's the better manager? Who do you think performed better? Which team have you enjoyed watching more? Or is it just a case of Arteta needs more time? Or do you think he's out of his depth? Harris said, big up, Curtis. I'm a United fan, but love your channel. Thank you very much. And Bjorn says, great show, Curtis. Have a good day, all of you. Big up, Jake Snacks. Have a good day. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Smash a like on this video. and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Olympiacos preview tomorrow. And tomorrow evening, PSG v Barcelona watch along. And then on Thursday, 2 p.m. again. And then Arsenal v Olympiacos watch along. It's going to be Scenes FC, people. Big up everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. Smash a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care, people. Blessed.